Welcome to a new episode of RunToYoga Podcast. My name is Tinkara and I'm your host. Together with RunToYoga team, we're very happy to have you here with us. And we're going to be very honored if you like, subscribe, comment, or share our podcast. We would also like to invite you to visit our website, runtoyoga.com, where we have a special community page where we introduce Iyengar Yoga studios, teachers, workshops, and of course, our podcast. Today, we have with us Uday, originally from India, but living in the UK. He's an inspiring international teacher, and it's a great honor to have you here with us today. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And it's a pleasure for me to be here talking to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So if we go to the beginnings, you started to practice martial arts, if I read correctly. And then later on, as a young boy, you were only 18, you found yoga. So what was it about yoga that made it so special that you decided to continue the path of yoga?
So, to be honest, I didn't mean to start with the practice of yoga. I was practicing martial arts, taekwondo in particular. And that was really inspiring for me. I was really passionate about it, and practicing that used to be the highlight or the main thing for me. And my whole week used to go around it. So I was that much passionately involved with the taekwondo practice. But I always give credit to my teacher, Ali Dasli, who actually introduced yoga within that practice and gave us an idea, made us realize how the yoga practice can be complementing the taekwondo practice, benefiting to become a better martial artist, to have a better understanding of your body, connect better with what you're doing, help us with the injury management, because that's always a big part of any sport you play. So to avoid, as well as if you have some injuries, how to deal with that. So all that had an interest developed gradually, means it was there while practicing. And then it so happened that he introduced me to the institute. He said, I can see you're keen, you're interested. And with that interest, I feel this is the right place for you to join. And I was still not that sure about it, but what the teacher says, I will follow. I was that sincere with him in particular. And once I landed at this institute, I was just like amazed to see these great teachers, amazed to see what effort people put in to just get there, to be there. And even before I actually had a realization of how big this place is, or how great, or why these teachers are so great, I could just see that the amount of effort people are putting in to get here. And I thought to myself, I'm just lucky being like living 1.5 kilometers away from this place. Just let's continue to go there. Let's continue to see what is happening. And eventually then I made friends over there, which just changed the experience altogether. The learnings, the day-to-day experience, which was so enriching. It just got me hooked on or connected to the place there.
Yeah,
and that's the gradual transition then. I mean, was not like a conscious decision that, okay, now this is yoga. This is the yoga time.
This is the yoga path that took you. Yeah. So yeah, my next question would be, how did you come across the Pune Institute, and what made it so special, besides, of course, all the new friends that you mentioned and the practice? But what was the essence of it that made you stay for, if I'm not mistaken, more than 15 years, and you're still returning every year?
I mean, yeah. So as I got there and started to experience, having those experiences of how I was able to work with my body, how these asanas were helping me improve, first of all, in the asanas. The philosophy part was still a little distant. Means at that time, I was focused at strengthening, being able to do all the taekwondo practice, other activities. And I started seeing the relevance of this practice. I started noticing why these teachers are revered so much world over, and why people are taking that effort to get there. That realization started to build up gradually. So that just got me hooked up over there, and I just wanted to be there in that place to learn. And that learning itself had a nice, enriching experience to it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that learning of being there was so enriching, felt nourishing, and it was not like conscious thing that, oh, I am trying to learn something which is big. It was just that the way the experience was evolving, that was something enriching, and it just made me stay there until me and my wife, we had to move to UK for work.
Mm-hmm.
If we hadn't had that move, I would still be happily present at the institute. But now it's still, I'm glad that we still have this opportunity to like get back. So every
Uh-huh.
year, at least once, I get back, of course, visit my family over there, who still
Uh-huh.
lives in Pune, and visit institute, extended family, I would say,
Yeah.
friends over there.
Yeah. I wanted to go back a bit to the time when you were in Pune, because especially us younger generation, we never had the opportunity to practice with Geeta Iyengar. So I believe this was a very, very special time. So I would love to know more about how was the teacher practitioner relationship? How was the relationship with the family? And maybe also because you are from India, and at that time there was a lot of foreigners coming to the institute. How was that for you?
Okay. Um, so, to tell you, initially, it was just seeing him in person was a big thing. It was like an awe. uh, you would always be in awe of what he's doing or the way he is going around. So you would just want to be able to watch him, see him, but not get noticed yourself.
Mhm,
Or that's what we thought, or that's what we think. You do get noticed when you did get noticed if you were around them. Uh, and I'm talking about like not just Guruji, even Geeta Prashant ji. Like you think you're escaping, you're hiding behind somewhere, but it's it's being noticed. It used to be. We realized that a little later for sure. So first it was just like that, just seeing him around as I was um, continuing with the classes, being around there for the different functions that used to happen, volunteer for different activities, work that needed to be done there. So that's where you start seeing the other side, or you start seeing them outside the class. Because in the class environment, of course, they were strict teachers, they were sharp, strict, they could see through you clearly. You cannot pretend, you could not hide anything. So that's how they were in the class, sharp. And of course, once the class setup scenario is done, outside the class, it was so approachable. They were so warm, caring, would ask you about your family. You could discuss, you could ask things. And the exchange was just like you would talk to your grandfather, or you would talk to your aunt, or even better at times with some relation. You could just connect, you could discuss things.
mhm,
And it was so, that's what made it, I think that's what makes that place so, like you start feeling you belong to that place. And
mhm,
that's the reason why, like from world over, so many people keep traveling, keep getting back to the place again and again. It's because they feel the connect, they feel they belong, they relate to that place, and that's because of the people there. So it was always they had they of course were strict. They would tell you off if you're like being lazy, or you're doing not doing what you're supposed to do. But again, they had that connect. So they had that um, that kind of magnetic personality. You do feel attracted to them. You do feel you want to be around them, to learn, to observe, to share, to discuss. So that's how it was in the beginning then, or that's how it has been since then.
Mm-hmm.
And to see so many foreigners visit there, of course, as I said, like in the beginning, it used to be, it used to puzzle me a little bit, or not puzzle me, get me curious, actually, I would say. That people are spending so much money to travel. They're taking out so much time from their life. They're stopping their life. If they're coming even for a month, some of them stayed much longer. So you are stopping everything that you're doing for a month to get here. So that was the thing which made me think, because as I said, like I was not right from day one keen and curious about everything that is happening here, and I should just go on doing it. The curiosity struck me to notice that the way people sacrifice their whatever on the personal level to just be there,
Mm-hmm.
that just made me think that there will be something worth this sacrifice. So just stay there a little longer to notice it, witness it.
Yeah,
And then of course.
I think it's really amazing to have the opportunity to hear these stories. Because as I said, we don't have this opportunity anymore. Of course, now we have Abhijata and Prashant and all of you teachers who are learning directly from the source, and we're of course very honored and grateful to be able to learn also from you. So you mentioned you moved to the UK later on with your family. And
Mhm.
I'm very curious, how do you see the difference in the culture of yoga between Pune and in the West?
Okay.
That doesn't
So
make sense.
to to tell you the difference which I noticed, being at the institute, the setup is different. Uh, we have these great teachers there, so the way students approach that place, that is different. Means people are traveling from far over to be there and to spend as much time as you can to experience, to learn from these great teachers. So that is a completely different setup
Hmm.
as compared to anywhere else outside, because here, even if I'm being a teacher here, teaching, I'm running classes, the setup is completely different. Here I have to have a class where I have to invite students, I have
Hmm.
to make sure that I have enough number of students coming over, and there the dynamics change to a certain degree. Yet there is a common thread, or there's a lot that is similar to what the practice is, and I feel that's thanks to the way Guruji set up the system, the way the other teachers, his students, his pupils took this method around,
Hmm.
and it has evolved over a period. So there's so much more that is common as well, but with the surroundings, with the setup, I think things do differ a little bit. Mm, plus the way the family setup is, because back then, I think it's changing pretty much
Hmm.
now, even in India, the family setup, I'm saying. So we would have like joint families. You would have parents and children living together. So the grandchildren, child care was not like a big task. You would easily have your family members who can look after your children. So going to a class, attending a class would be possible within your routine, within your schedule. You would have people to support you. Out here, that is not always easy, as you would know there. Like, it can be something which you have to really sort out: childcare, other family responsibilities, other work related responsibilities. So there again, the approach is different, or just this environment is different. That creates a little bit of difference.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, like in India, the thing is changing like quite drastically, or with people traveling for work, living in different places. Of course, it's no longer that kind of family setup everywhere.
Yeah. And do you think that also the role of the teacher is changing through the time? If you're comparing the time when you started practice and maybe how the classes are set up now, because I think in the past, you were lucky to be in the presence of the teacher. You would, as you said, make a pause in your life, go there, devote yourself. And now
True.
I think, I mean, I am really happy that we have this access to yoga basically on every corner, but maybe we approach yoga a bit differently. It's an activity we do. So I think also the role of the teacher has changed a bit. What would you think about that?
Uh, True. I would agree to some extent, of course, with the role being changed, because yes, with time things have changed. Life has changed drastically within the last like few years, a decade, couple of decades. Life has changed quite a bit. So as teachers, I think we have to have understanding of this, first of all, that the changes that have occurred, we cannot, as a teacher, it's always easy to demand something from you. I mean,
Hmm.
if I'm your teacher and you have to dedicate 2 hours of practice, otherwise you're not a sincere student. It's easy for me to just put this demand.
Hmm.
But if you are working, if you have a child to look after, this is an absurd demand, or this is an absurd expectation from my side.
Hmm.
You may not be able to devote that much time, even if you're willing to. And if you end up doing it, you will be compromising somewhere, either your work or either the time you need to spend with your child. Is that a good thing to do, or is that the right thing to do then? So, as teachers, we have to have this understanding. We may have done that in our past, doesn't mean that it can happen or it can be always expected from the students. So, how can we get this art, science, philosophy, all that we consider yoga as, how can we take it to the students? How can we encourage the students to relate to it, or to involve in it,
Hmm.
to get involved in it with the current circumstances,
Hmm.
to make the life better? Means, finally, why would you want to practice this? To be able to live a better life, to be able to be better at whatever you're doing,
Hmm.
your
Yeah.
interpersonal relationships with your family, with your co-workers. So if that demand is put, if that is adding to your stress, you will obviously have a negative impact on all the other fronts as well, because
Hmm.
this is an additional demand put onto you. So as a teacher, how can I involve this practice, integrate this practice, help you integrate this practice in your routine, in your life, which is going to positively impact all the other facets, all the other parts of your life? I think if we, as teachers, if we think on those lines, it does make the subject much more approachable, and students can feel benefited much more than constantly being like, you may constantly get the feeling, if I say that 2 hours is what you should do, and if you can't match up that time,
Yeah.
there comes the guilt or the frustration,
Yeah.
unnecessary, right?
I think this is very beautifully said. And I must say, for me personally, I'm really enjoying the whole mentorship process. I feel it's also enriching all the other parts of my life. And I think this is the true essence of the subject.
Exactly. And that's exactly a good change that has been brought up into the system to get it, get the mentorship done gradually. So we get our own time as students to grow, to understand, to absorb, and we're not pressurized with the deadlines to just rush towards it.
Yeah, I think it's a very beautiful process. As you said, it offers us time to really also grow, not only, focus on alignment and adjustment, but also to grow with the practice and really take, also give and take from the practice. And I think that's very
If
beautiful.
if I can add to that, like this alignment and precision and all of those things, yes, it's important part, integral part. And but why?
Hmm.
What effect does it have? So being able to experience that, being able to witness that, even that needs a little time. So that time, if you get it, then you start realizing the benefit or you start realizing its effect, impact. And then you understand that why it is insisted, why this remains to be a part of it. And you're not just following it just because it's given.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
you're not just rushing and then you're not just trying to like just hammer those, drill in those demands about, oh, this has to be like this. It's not. It's not just because it has to be like this. It has its
Hmm.
effect. If you realize that, then you start understanding that how can you get these, so alignment and precision and all of that, the sequencing part of it. If you realize its benefit, then you start being a bit more creative about approaching these things as well.
Hmm. And
And that needs time to evolve. Sorry, yeah.
yeah, yeah, no, no, no. I'm sorry. I really love where this conversation is going. So I wanted to ask you that in Iyengar Yoga, we talk a lot about intelligence of the body and also connected to the mind. And we know that philosophy is a big part of that as well. As you said, it's not only the practice. So I would be very curious to maybe hear your experience. How do you practice that in your personal practice? How do you incorporate also the philosophy so that yoga is not only as, let's say, a workout, if I can use these words, is
Yeah.
asana practice, but it's also everything else. How do we receive the essence of that?
Uh-huh. Um, so I would say, see, to begin with, it can begin as a workout, and that's absolutely fine. It's not a wrong thing to have that as an intention. If, as a beginner, I want to approach the subject just as a workout. We can give you a fantastic, well, we can, as in the system, the subject can give you a fantastic workout, a workout which is capable of giving you strength if
Mhm,
you're aiming for that. So you want to strengthen, you can get the strength, or rather much better, because you will have a coordinated strength, a
mhm,
coordinated understanding of your own body. So that strength, endurance, you can work for it. If you have stiffness, you can work for the suppleness. If you have over supple, you can work for getting a better tone and stability. So that itself can be an approach, or that itself can be an initial starting point.
mhm,
As we start practicing, even if with that as the approach you want to begin with, you will start realizing it's connected deeper. You will have the philosophy is a pretty integral part of this practice, because you will start noticing as the teaching happens, there are, I recollect an example, if I may share a incident. So in a class, there was a class which was going on, and Abhijana was conducting the class. Guruji was practicing at the back of the hall, and he was guiding her. He was training her with what was going on. So whatever we managed to do throughout the class, at the end of the class, towards the end of the class, we're doing Uttana. We were supposed to get into Uttanasana.
mhm,
So Uttanasana, when you stand straight and bend down, head towards the floor, towards the shin. That is the pose. So you would have the details, you would have the instructions known. Uttanasana, you would give all those instructions. And those instructions were given as it was towards the end of the class, you were asked to rest, recover, get back your breath, and all of those things. So, just a few instructions different than what you would normally do in Uttanasana. But then Guruji said, bring everyone up. Come on. Said, why are you doing this Uttanasana now? After all the practice, I think it was a forward bend class. So, with all that you've done your forward bends. So, your Uttanasana is going to be different, given, understood. But how is it working on your mind? What is the state of your mind? Are you still having that ego that, okay, I'm going down? Yes, I can get my head down better because for 2 hours I have done my forward bends. So my head is going down towards the shin, my trunk is longer. All of these are observations, yes, but is it just pampering your ego there?
Mhm.
While all of this question came up, I was a bit confused, like, where is this going? Or what exactly is expected? Then he said, okay, now go for the next attempt. Go down to Uttanasana, just like a flower drops off from the tree.
Mhm.
And you get into the pose. Now, if you think of this analogy, okay, it's an example, it's an analogy there, and you can still go down and do the same thing. But there's such a big difference in the thought process and the way the mind would function here. A flower drops. If you've observed how a flower just separates and falls off the branch, there's a certain lightness. Yes, it does come down to the earth. It is going to fall down, but it doesn't fall like a ripe fruit.
Mhm.
A ripe fruit falling down has a different, uh, like, there's a different way it just falls down. A
Mhm.
flower gently just floats and it reaches the floor there. Can your torso descend down like that flower? So there is no rush. There is no falling at once. There's no forcing the head to the shin. You're gradually just allowing it to settle down, to release, to go towards the floor. And that just changes the texture of the pose. That just changes the texture of the state of mind that you can experience in that Uttanasana. There
Mhm.
is surrendering in that.
Yeah.
And that just changes. So your Uttanasana, if you're constantly just thinking of whatever 10, 15, as Prashant sir just keeps on saying, like, you may have a database of 100 points there. If you're just constantly checking those points every time you do Uttanasana or any other pose, it's a different practice. You're just limiting uh, your approach, your practice, and the benefit that you can experience that you can derive from it.
Mhm.
This Uttanasana is far more different. So philosophy will start taking its roots, or philosophy will have its impact on your practice as
Mhm.
you continue to practice. You will notice that it will eventually become an integral part of it, even if you haven't thought of it, or
Mhm.
if you haven't started with that intention.
Yeah. I remember when I first joined Iyengar Yoga class, I was practicing other styles before. And after Shavasana, I remember I didn't want to go home. I felt that my mind was completely empty. I felt a lot of space, even physically. I felt really good. And I said, okay, I think
Yeah,
I need to follow this path. It was something I cannot put into words, but it was felt. It was,
exactly. I can completely relate to what you're saying, and those were the experiences I had initially with the classes I could do at the institute, and that's where I could not put it in words, but I felt like, wow, this is the place to be. This is some unique experience. My friends would always, because that was the age where we were in the college, and like the friends would want to go out, uh, go for like holidays, parties, or just go out and hang around a lot. And I would be like giving a constant excuse of, no, I have a class, no, I have to go to the institute, I have a yoga class. And friends were a bit annoyed with me, to be honest. Like, what is happening with this fellow? Why is he just going there? But I couldn't describe, I couldn't tell them what exactly it is that is so attractive of this practice, because it was all of this experience, noticing, being able to understand your own body, being able to understand what is happening with your body, getting you to connect inwards.
Mhm.
That was something special there. So I can clearly relate
Yeah.
to what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's very special. And I think not only from not only good sensations, even seeing yourself clearly with everything that comes with you. I think that for
Yeah.
me was very, very special. Yeah. I also read somewhere that you're teaching children's yoga. I don't know if you're still doing that, but
I
that,
used to.
okay.
Hmm. Back in India, I was part of the
Mhm.
teachers group who was conducting the children class on Sunday morning there. Over here in UK, I haven't conducted a regular class for children, just with the schedule and the timing that has not been able to match up. But I've conducted regular workshops, occasional classes for children. There are a couple of teachers who conduct a yoga camp for children and the families as well. So, been part of that as well. So, I've done teaching children like that over here, but not a regular class the way we had in, or we still have in Pune at the institute.
Yeah, I wanted to add, I started with teaching yoga for kids, and I thought this would be easier than teaching adults. It wasn't easy. They were very brutally honest in liking me or disliking me, especially. But I think
Absolutely.
what I saw after the class, it was very special for me because I saw this innocence, calmness, and I just wanted to ask you what you learned maybe from teaching kids.
I I would again like give a lot of credit to the children class for whatever kind of teacher I am or I am perceived as. If there's any good, or I feel the children class, teaching children class, being the teacher in the children class, has been a big training aspect for me, because as you exactly said it, they're brutally honest. If they like what you're doing, you can clearly see in their eyes, in their reaction. If they don't like what you're doing in the class, they will make it visible. They will express it bluntly, not like us adults who would just try to mask it and endure it because we have to kind of. Children won't do that, and they don't do that. So, one, you clearly get to see the honest feedback. So if you're
Mhm,
ready to take it up and act accordingly, it helps you to pick up what is happening. As to go with the lingo, like, you can pick up the vibe in the class and you have to quickly change,
mhm.
you have to adapt to it. So that makes you much more alert, present with what you are doing in the class. You may go with a prepared plan, you want to do a particular thing, but you cannot execute that prepared plan, because if you're just trying to follow that and you're feeling disconnected with the group,
Mhm.
this is not working. So you have to be on your toes, you have to be alert to adapt to what is happening there, which may need you to slightly go off your plan. Doesn't mean preparing a plan is not important. Yes, it is important, or it is a good way to prepare for a class, but you cannot stay like stuck to this. You have to have the freedom to take a detour if required, or completely change at times if required. And that kind of helps even in a regular class, because if you think of a class with grown-ups, with adults, you may have again a plan, but as you get to the class, you would somebody comes up and says, oh, today I'm having a severe shoulder discomfort, stiff neck, or I'm not able to move my neck, and you were just planning to go on with your anything like inversions practice today. You can still do those inversions, but you can take a different preparatory approach for it. depending upon, like, if you have few students who have complained the same thing. So that adaptability is possible. That's what I think the children class trains you really well, to be able to read what is happening, to be able to take a detour, feel comfortable, confident about going off track a little bit, off script a little bit.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It was
I think it's a great way to train ourselves as teachers.
yeah, I agree. I agree. It was really interesting experience. And you are also working with the humanitarian dimension. I've read on your website that you're also awarded for this work, and I think that's really amazing. So I'm very curious what, I mean, because we can read about philosophy and we can read about stories, but when you see stories up close about maybe struggle, poverty, strength, despair, I think this is very different because you have an actual experience. So I would be very curious, how does it look, your work? Is it connected to yoga? What do you actually do in this work, and what have it taught you throughout the years?
I mean, uh, so to tell you honestly, I'm just grateful that I I don't have much different thing to do for this. I mean, it's I would give credit to the students who join me for such kind of work, because that work is possible because of the support I get, and that is incredible on behalf of the students to be involved and support such activities. And it just came up as a part of the award and accolade. Was again a pleasant surprise, and like again grateful to have all of that. But never started with that intention, or that has never been the intention. uh, as you see how privileged and how grateful you should be for the way things are, if it's possible, you can definitely spare a little bit. You can spare a little bit in terms of effort or whatever you can spare for those who are in need. That's it. Just think on those lines, and it can give us so many ways, avenues in which we can contribute and work towards betterment of the society. That compassion we can share with others, if we think things are, like, if you find things to be grateful about, it can be really that easy just to find some way in which you can be helpful.
Mhm.
And for me, I'm, as I said, like, I'm really glad and honored that students join and help support such causes together. So together, I think um, it's a nice thing to do together.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that it's very, very beautiful that you're doing that work as well. I have one last question, and maybe in the end you can also maybe share something else if you would like. But what I'm really interested in, if you would go back to your younger self when you were in Pune, what would
Mm.
be an instruction or an advice you would give to yourself for the next 10, 15 years of practice? And if that would be very precise instruction, and what would you choose and why?
Mm. Okay, so if I could do that, I would say enjoy the practice much more,
Mm.
uh, rather than, because at that time, with lack of understanding or the way I was looking at the practice, it was like, oh, I should do this. So it was, as I mentioned, that additional demand. So, and that I was trying to put on myself, looking at things around, because I would see that Guruji, I saw Guruji first and when he was 80.
Mhm.
So 80 is a old age, like a person who is, you would call as an old person. But the way he was active, the way the hours he would practice, the kind of practice he would do, to see that, not hear and say, not some stories. Not that his stories are like all cooked up, but you could literally see that in front. So to see a person of that age do what he would do, and of course see other senior teachers as well around, you would always feel not enough. You would always feel that, oh, you have to do more and more and more. And that,
Mhm.
in some ways, I feel uh, it, of course, pushed me to work, but I was kind of losing or I kind of missed a bit on the experience and the joy of it,
Mhm.
which that's just a minor thing I would say would change. So just enjoy that practice and be there, allow things will shape up later on, because at that time it was not it was definitely not a promising career option as well.
Yeah.
So there was always that anxiety about what do I do in my life. I've been trained, or I did my education in computer science, my master's there. So ideally I was supposed to be a techie guy who would be working with computers. So that was done because I wanted some financial stability. And that was more like an ensuring path,
Mhm.
that you would have a job which would be well paid and things like that. And then yoga can be a practice which you can continue on the side. So there was greater time, a larger amount of time which had to be devoted for those academics. Again, that has been like, I'm not saying all that has gone to waste. It is important part in shaping up training, preparing. But then always I had this feel of like the practice would have a limited time, not be able to enjoy, but just trying to meet those um, personal demands or objectives that I had put on myself. So I would give myself a little more time to explore and enjoy it while those great teachers were around as well.
Yeah. Well, we are very happy that you are teaching still and that we have the opportunity to practice with you as well. And I can say that I really enjoyed this year's workshop because last year's workshop, this year you're coming again. We were working a lot on the hips and I really needed that at that time. And it was really, really good for me. So I want to thank you also for your contribution to yoga.
Thank you. I mean, that is something which have done a bit more of recent, because of the way our lifestyle has changed.
Mhm.
We knowingly, unknowingly end up spending longer hours sitting, and so that focus in the practice can be important just to build the practice from there. So I'm glad you've enjoyed that and
I did. I
you
did.
felt it has
Yeah.
contributed to your practice.
Yeah, it did a lot. Is there anything else you would like to share, maybe for our for the people joining this podcast?
Um, Joy. So if you have practiced Iyengar Yoga and if you've been a student of the system for some time, at least you would see why and what the system can do for us as whatever we are doing in our life. So how it
Hmm.
contributes towards being a better person. So that is there. And those who haven't seen or those who are still curious in what it is about, I would definitely say look out for a teacher nearby, join a class, and see how this method is uniquely designed. I feel. I, I must admit, I have no background or training of any other school. I happily landed at this place and have always been there since then. But what I feel is the approach, the way Guruji has developed or evolved his teaching is phenomenal, because no matter what age you are in,
Hmm.
no matter what kind of role, responsibility you have socially, in the family, what kind of economic background you have, this is where you can work and practice and be a better person. Be a better person about what you're doing, what you need to be doing. It changes. The teaching will change. The method changes for children, for teenagers, for young adults, middle aged people, elderly people. even if you have any ailments.
Mm-hmm.
So there's such a big part of remedial aspect of the practice. And it's amazingly like compassionate approach of Guruji that he designed or devised ways in which you can approach and teach all these different stages of life. So give it a try and see why this system has become so widely accepted, why and what the system has to offer to everyone. That's how I feel Guruji has made this immense contribution to yoga, where he has made it more approachable
Mm-hmm.
and relatable. It
Yeah.
doesn't need you to be of a certain caliber and qualification to pick up this practice. Whatever you are in your life, whatever stage you are in your life, you can pick up this practice and you can build from there. You can become a better person from there and observe its benefits. So, yeah, look out
Yeah.
for a teacher near you to start your journey if you haven't already.
Thank you very much, Uday. This was a really great conversation. I'm very grateful to have you on this podcast. And yeah,
Thank
hopefully
you.
see you
Thank
again soon. Thank you.
Would be my pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you so much for indulging me and having this conversation. Yeah, happy to talk to you.